Hello, this is Dan Brown. This is for a project in my systems development class. We were asked to come up with a project that solves a real-world problem, and for my project I created something called the BCMI. The BCMI stands for the Big City Mileage Identifier. The idea behind it is basically at airports, many of the employees at the desk are swamped with the questions and doing most of the day-to-day chores that they have, and the idea behind this was that it could be set up on a kiosk and customers can look up some of the answers to the common questions for themselves. It would help cut down on the amount of time employees at the airport would need to spend to answer questions, and cut down on the lines quite a bit too. The requirements for this was that it solved a real-world problem and that it had a database attached to it. And the database was the hardest part for me. I had never had experience. I've used databases before, but I've never made one in connection with an actual program too. So that was the tricky part. In the process, I learned quite a few things. But there's two different kinds of databases. You have the service-based database and a local database. The service-based database, you only accessed it through a server. And for this project, I use what's called a local database, which is local to this application only. In theory, the customers that would use this program would not need access to the internet from this kiosk. And so the database had to be embedded with the program itself. So, anyway, here's the project. There's a tutorial. When you click on it, a pop-up box gives a user an idea of how to use it. You can scroll down and pick from different cities, which the amount of cities on here is limited. I didn't put every possible big city in the world on here, but I've tried to think of the ones that tourists might be most likely to go to. When you select the city, the mileage shows up here. And down here is a way, if you know the amount of miles that you're going to be flying, you can enter a number in here, say 4566, and calculate it, and it'll tell you the time in hours. This was an algorithm based off the famous distance equals rate times time, which I changed it to time equals miles divided by rate. So the only try-catch that was needed was in this section. If you put letters in instead of numbers, you would get a pop-up box that says invalid data was entered. So you have to put numbers in. See. Other than that, the program's pretty straightforward. It said it came in two parts there. This part here, when you exit, you will get a message saying, "Thank you for using our airline. We hope you have a great flight." And that was that for that. The code itself was written in the C# language, and there's not much to say about it. There's a try-catch down there for the calculate part. Other than that, this is a pretty straightforward project. Like I said, the major problem I had was when getting figuring out how to use the database. In theory, when this is set up on a kiosk, it would all be ready to go for the user. Try loading it now, though. Let's just take a second here. It's not loading. Sorry, this will just take a minute here. As I said, sometimes it works great and sometimes it does not. I'm not exactly sure. I know it has something to do with the database. Here we go. I did pick cities all throughout the world, though, not just the United States. Mostly cities I would, as I said, tourists would be interested in going to. And a lot of them were places that I was interested in myself. Tried to include a wide variety, not just focus on one area. Again, the tutorial basically tells the person they're going to select the city first from the drop-down menu, which is why you did not need a try-catch statement in that section, because the cities are already there. There's no way they can input, a city that's not in there. It doesn't give you that option. It tells you the calculate button uses the fact that the average velocity of a jet is 550 miles an hour. This is something I looked up online, different websites, and they all pretty well agreed it was close to that number. So that was the number I used in the algorithm, where I had time equals miles divided by rate. Basically, you would type down here you would type in a distance and hit the calculate button, and it would give you the time in this section right here. So, again, you would get your information up here, say Calgary, Canada, or Beijing, China, 6861. Then you could type in 6861, hit the calculate button, and it should take a little over 12 hours to reach that destination. I thought that was a pretty neat idea, to combine both of these together, so that even if the city is not listed on here, if they do have a rough idea of how far away the city is, say it was 5, 7, 8, 9, I'm going to say it's 57,000 miles away, which I don't know what city that would be, but it would take about 105 hours to reach that destination. So put larger numbers in. 100,000 miles. It would take you 183 miles an hour, or 183 hours, a little over, in a jet to reach that destination. Like I said, the application itself was pretty simple. It was more than anything, it was the figuring out how to link the database up with the program. As I said, this was written in C#, which was a pretty straightforward language. For the most part, the GUI, the graphical user interface, you can develop them pretty easy with C#, as opposed to Java, where you have to write code for every single thing you're creating on there. But thanks for watching this, and that's it. Thanks.